Danny Marsh was 8 years old when he first heard the crying. It came from deep inside the cornfield behind his family's farmhouse, and it sounded like nothing he had ever heard before. The sound was sad and strange, like someone weeping through a broken radio. It made his chest feel heavy, and his heart beat faster. It was a warm summer evening in Kansas. The sky was turning orange and pink as the sun went down. Danny's father, Ben Marsh, was still working in the barn, fixing an old tractor that had stopped running 2 days ago. Danny was supposed to be doing his homework at the kitchen table, but the crying sound pulled at him like a rope tied around his middle. He walked to the edge of the cornfield and stood there, listening. The corn was tall this time of year, taller than Danny by a lot. The stalks swayed gently in the evening breeze, making soft, rustling sounds. But underneath that rustling, he could still hear it. The crying Danny was not a brave boy in the way that heroes in movies were brave. He was afraid of the dark. He did not like thunderstorms. He still slept with a small light on in his room. But something about this crying made him feel like he needed to help. Whoever was making that sound was hurting, and Danny could not just walk away from someone who was hurting. He pushed into the corn. The stalks closed behind him like a green curtain. He walked slowly, following the sound, pushing leaves out of his face as he went. The crying got louder. It got stranger, too. There were sounds mixed in with it that were not quite like words, but almost like words. Like someone trying to talk through tears in a language Danny had never heard. And then he found her. She was curled up in a small clearing between the corn stalks, her body pressed tight against the ground. Danny stopped and stared, his mouth falling open. She was about the size of a big dog, but she was not a dog. She was not anything Danny had ever seen before, not even in books or movies. Her body was covered in scales that shimmered and changed color as he watched. Purple became silver. Silver became blue. Blue became purple again. She had wings folded tight against her back, thin and delicate like the wings of a dragonfly, but much bigger. Her face was long and narrow, with a small snout and large golden eyes that were wet with tears. She had 4 legs with clawed feet, and 2 small arms with hands that had 3 fingers each. In those hands, she held something broken. It was a device of some kind, round and flat, made of metal that glowed faintly. But it was cracked down the middle, and tiny sparks jumped from the crack every few seconds. She held it the way Danny held his favorite toy truck when it broke last year, like it was the most important thing in the world. She looked up at Danny, and her golden eyes went wide with fear. She made a sound that was not quite a word, but clearly meant something like, "Stay away," or "Please, don't hurt me." She tried to crawl backward, but she winced and stopped. Danny saw that one of her wings was bent at a wrong angle. She was hurt. Danny did not run away. He did not scream. He did not even feel as scared as he thought he should feel. Instead, he felt something else. He felt sorry for her. She was just a kid, like him. He could tell by the way she moved, by the size of her compared to what an adult of her kind might be. She was young and lost and scared and hurt, and her toy was broken. Danny sat down in the dirt, crossing his legs the way he did during story time at school. He made himself small and still. He remembered what his father always told him when they found hurt animals on the farm. "Move slow, speak soft. Let them know you are not a danger." "Hey," Danny said quietly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." She did not understand his words. He could tell by the confused look in her eyes. But she seemed to understand his voice. She stopped trying to crawl away. She just watched him, her golden eyes blinking slowly, tears still running down her scaled cheeks. Danny looked at the broken device in her hands. He looked at the way she held it so carefully, even though it was cracked and sparking. He thought about the time his toy truck broke and how sad he had been. He thought about what his father had said to him that day. "My dad says broken things deserve care," Danny said softly. He pointed at the device. "Is that yours? Did it break?" She looked down at the device, then back up at Danny. She made a sound that might have been yes in her language. More tears fell from her eyes. Danny reached into his pocket and pulled out the only thing he had, a slightly crushed granola bar. He held it out toward her, keeping his arm extended but not moving closer. "Are you hungry? It's good. It has chocolate chips." She stared at the granola bar for a long moment. Then, slowly, carefully, she reached out with one clawed hand and took it. She sniffed it. She took a tiny bite. Her eyes widened, and she ate the rest of it quickly. Danny smiled. "See? I'm nice. I want to help you." She made a soft sound. It was not crying anymore. It was something else. Something almost like hope. Danny looked at the sky. It was getting dark fast. His father would start looking for him soon. He could not stay here much longer, but he did not want to leave her alone either. She was hurt and scared and did not know where she was. "I have to go now," Danny said, pointing toward where his house was. "But I'll come back. I promise. I'll bring more food. And maybe I can help fix your thing." He pointed at the broken device. She tilted her head, watching him. She did not understand his words, but she seemed to understand his kindness. As Danny stood up and started to back away, she made a small sound. It was soft and musical, almost like a song. Danny thought maybe it was her way of saying thank you. He walked backward through the corn, keeping his eyes on her until the stalks blocked his view. Then he turned and ran home, his heart pounding with excitement and wonder and a strange, new feeling he could not name. He did not tell his father what he had found. Not yet. He was not sure his father would believe him. He was not sure anyone would believe him. But Danny knew what he had seen, and he knew what he was going to do. He was going to help her. Because broken things deserve care, and she was broken in more ways than one. Danny came back the next morning before the sun was fully up. He carried a backpack filled with things he thought might help. There was food, an apple, 2 sandwiches wrapped in plastic, a bottle of water, and 3 more granola bars. There was a blanket from his closet. And there was his father's old toolbox, the small one that Ben kept in the kitchen for quick fixes around the house. He found her in the same spot, still curled up, still holding the broken device. But when she saw Danny push through the cornstalks, something changed in her face. Her golden eyes brightened. She made that soft musical sound again, the one Danny thought meant thank you, or maybe hello. Danny sat down near her, keeping some distance so she would not feel scared. He opened his backpack and pulled out the food. She ate everything he gave her, quickly at first, then more slowly as her hunger faded. She drank the water in big gulps. Danny watched her and smiled. "I brought you a blanket too," he said, pulling it out and setting it on the ground near her. "In case you get cold at night." She touched the blanket with her small clawed hand. She rubbed the soft fabric between her fingers, and her eyes went wide with wonder. She pulled the blanket close and wrapped it around herself, making a happy sound that was almost like purring. Danny pointed at himself. "Danny," he said slowly. "My name is Danny." She tilted her head. She pointed at him with one finger. "Danny." Danny laughed and nodded. "Yes, Danny, that's me." She pointed at herself. She made a sound that was long and complicated, full of clicks and hums that Danny's mouth could not make. Danny tried to repeat it. He failed badly. She made a sound that might have been laughter. "How about I call you Lily?" Danny said. He pointed at her purple scales. "Like the flowers my mom planted." They were purple too. She seemed to think about this. Then she nodded slowly. "Lily?" "Lily, yes." "Lily," she repeated, more clearly this time. She pointed at herself. Lily. Danny grinned. They were talking. Sort of. It was a start. Over the next few days, Danny came to see Lily every morning and every evening. He brought food and water. He brought picture books from his room and pointed at things, saying the words slowly. Dog, cat, house, tree, sun, moon. Lily learned fast. Faster than Danny expected. By the third day, she could say simple sentences. Danny is nice. Food is good. Wing hurts. Her wing was still bent wrong. Danny did not know how to fix that, but he thought maybe he could fix her device. He opened his father's toolbox and looked at the broken beacon. It was made of metal he had never seen before, smooth and warm to the touch. The crack ran through the middle, and the parts inside were a mess of tiny wires and glowing pieces that looked like nothing Danny had ever seen on Earth. But Danny had watched his father fix things his whole life. He had seen Ben take apart engines and put them back together. He had seen him bring old radios back to life with patience and care. Danny knew the most important rule of fixing things. Look carefully, go slowly, and never give up. He spent hours looking at the beacon. He tried to understand how the parts fit together. He cleaned the dirt and moisture out with a soft cloth. He straightened the wires that had come loose. He did not know what many of the parts were for, but he did his best. Lily watched him work. At first, she seemed nervous, making worried sounds whenever he touched something. But as she saw how gentle he was, how careful, she relaxed. She started pointing at parts and saying words in her own language. Danny repeated them, even though he did not understand what they meant. It made Lily happy that one evening, Danny asked her where she came from. Lily pointed at the sky. She said a word that Danny did not know, then tried again. Stars. Home in stars. Danny's eyes went wide. You're from space? Like outer space? Lily nodded. She told him as much as she could with her small vocabulary. Her people were called Vathari. They traveled between stars in great ships. Her family had been studying this part of the galaxy when something went wrong. There was an accident. Her ship broke. She was put in a small escape pod, but the pod crashed here in the corn. The device was a beacon. It was meant to call her family to tell them where she was, but it broke in the crash. Without it, her family could not find her. They might think she was dead. Danny felt his heart hurt when she told him this. He thought about his own father, about how scared Ben would be if Danny went missing. He thought about how scared Lily must be, all alone on a strange world, not knowing if her family was looking for her or if they had given up. I'll fix it, Danny said firmly. I promise, Lily. I'll fix your beacon and you'll go home. Lily looked at him with her golden eyes. There was something new in them now. It was not just hope. It was wonder. Danny was small and soft and had no scales or claws or wings. He was not strong or fast or smart in the ways that Vathari were smart. But he was trying to help her anyway. He was trying with everything he had. She reached out and touched his hand with her clawed fingers. Her scales were warm and smooth. Danny is good, she said quietly. Best friend. Danny felt his face get warm. He smiled and squeezed her hand gently. You're my best friend too, Lily. That night, Danny worked on the beacon until his flashlight batteries died. He did not fix it, but he learned more about how it worked. He could see now which parts connected to which other parts. He could see where the break had done the most damage. It was going to be hard. Maybe impossible. But Danny was not going to give up. His father had taught him that broken things deserve care, and Danny was going to care for this broken thing until it worked again, because Lily needed to go home. And Danny was going to make sure she got there. Ben Marsh knew something was different about his son. Danny had always been a good boy, quiet and kind, but lately he had been acting strange, He woke up earlier than usual. He came home later than usual. He took food from the kitchen without asking. And there was a light in his eyes, a kind of excited energy that Ben had not seen since before Danny's mother had passed away 2 years ago. Ben was not an angry man or a suspicious man. He trusted his son. But he was a father, and fathers worry. So one evening, when Danny slipped out the back door with his backpack, Ben waited a few minutes and then followed him. The corn was tall and thick, and Ben moved through it quietly, the way he had learned to move when hunting deer as a young man. He followed the sound of Danny's footsteps, pushing through the stalks, until he came to a small clearing and saw something that made him stop and stare. His son was sitting on the ground, next to a creature that should not exist. It was covered in purple and silver scales. It had wings and claws and a long tail. It was holding a blanket around itself, like a child holding a favorite toy. And Danny was talking to it, smiling, showing it pictures in a book. Ben's first instinct was fear. His hand moved toward Danny, wanting to grab his son and pull him away from this unknown thing. But then he stopped. He looked more carefully. He saw how the creature leaned toward Danny, not in a threatening way, but in the way a scared animal leans toward someone it trusts. He saw how Danny touched its hand gently, how the creature made a soft, happy sound in response. This was not a monster. This was a child. A lost, scared child from somewhere very far away. Ben stepped into the clearing. Both Danny and the creature looked up. Danny's face went pale with fear, but not fear of the creature. Fear of being caught. Fear that his father would not understand. "Dad," Danny started, his voice shaking. "I can explain. Please, don't be mad. She's not dangerous. She's just lost, and her toy is broken, and she can't go home, and I was trying to help her because you always said that broken things deserve care, and I know she looks scary, but she's not. She's really nice, and her name is Lily, and she's from space, and please, don't hurt her." All of this came out in one long rush of words. Danny was breathing hard by the end, his eyes wet with tears he was trying not to let fall. Ben looked at his son. He looked at Lily. The creature was watching him with large golden eyes. And in those eyes he saw the same thing he saw in Danny's eyes when Danny was scared. Fear, hope, the desperate wish to be understood. Ben walked forward slowly. He knelt down in the dirt next to his son. He looked at the broken device that Lily held in her hands. "That's not a toy, is it?" Ben said quietly. Danny shook his head. "It's a beacon. It's supposed to call her family so they can come get her. But it broke when she crashed." Ben held out his hand toward Lily. "May I see it?" Lily looked at Danny. Danny nodded. Slowly, carefully, Lily placed the beacon in Ben's large, rough hands. Ben turned it over, looking at it from all angles. He was a farmer and a mechanic, not a scientist. He fixed tractors and trucks and old radios. He had never seen technology like this before. But as he looked at the beacon, he started to see patterns. He saw wires that connected to other wires. He saw circuits that worked on principles he almost understood. It was different from anything on Earth, but it was not completely different. Some rules of engineering, it seemed, were the same everywhere. "The main power line is broken here," Ben said, pointing at a spot near the crack. "And this connector is loose. These wires need to be joined back together, but they're made of something I've never seen before." Danny leaned close, looking where his father pointed. "I tried to fix that part, but I didn't know how to connect the wires. They don't melt like normal wires." Ben thought for a moment. "There's some copper wire in the barn. Different material, but if we wrap it around both ends tight enough, it might carry the current. And this connector here," he pointed at another part. "It looks like it needs pressure to stay in place. We could use a clamp. A small one." Lily watched them talk. She did not understand all the words, but she understood what was happening. The father was going to help too. The father was not angry. The father was kind, like Danny. She touched Ben's arm with her small clawed hand. "Thank you," she said in her careful, learned English. "Ben is good. Like Danny." Ben looked at her. For a long moment, he did not speak. Then he smiled, a slow, warm smile that made the lines around his eyes crinkle. "I guess we better fix it then," he said. They worked together for the next 2 weeks. Ben brought better tools from the barn. He brought wire and clamps and tape and glue. He brought a magnifying glass so they could see the tiny parts more clearly. He brought lights so they could work after dark. Danny helped wherever he could. He held parts in place while his father connected wires. He cleaned components with careful fingers. He kept Lily company when she got scared or sad, telling her stories about Earth, about Kansas, about the farm. Lily learned more English every day. She started speaking in full sentences. She told them about her world, about the great cities that floated among the clouds, about the ships that traveled between stars, about her mother who was an important leader among their people. She told them that humans were considered a young species, too primitive to contact. Her people had been watching Earth from far away, but had never spoken to humans. Why not? Danny asked. Lily thought about how to explain it. "We thought you were not ready, not kind enough, not wise enough." Ben laughed softly. "Maybe we're not, but we try." The night came when the beacon was finally ready. Ben had replaced every broken wire. He had sealed the crack with a special glue. He had connected a small battery from an old radio to give it extra power. It was not perfect. It was held together with Earth materials and alien technology mixed in strange ways. But when Lily pressed the button on its side, it hummed to life. A light shot up from its center, bright and blue, pulsing in patterns that meant something to the stars. Lily began to cry. Not sad tears this time. Happy tears. "It works," she whispered. "They will hear. They will come." Danny hugged her. Ben put his hand on her shoulder. They stood together in the cornfield, watching the light pulse upward into the night sky, and they waited for an answer. 3 days passed after the beacon was fixed. 3 days of waiting and hoping and watching the sky. Danny could not sleep well. He kept waking up in the middle of the night to look out his window, searching for lights among the stars. Lily stayed in the cornfield, wrapped in her blanket, eating the food Danny and Ben brought her. Her golden eyes always turned upward. On the 3rd night, the answer came. Danny was lying in his bed, almost asleep, when he heard a sound like thunder. But it was not thunder. It was too deep, too steady, too strange. He jumped out of bed and ran to his window. What he saw made his heart stop. A ship was coming down from the sky. It was huge, bigger than his house, bigger than the barn, maybe as big as the whole farm. It was shaped like a leaf, smooth and curved, and it glowed with soft blue light. It made no fire, no smoke, nothing like the rockets Danny had seen in movies. It just floated down, silent except for that deep humming sound, and landed in the field beyond the corn. Danny ran outside. His father was already there, standing on the porch, looking at the ship with wide eyes. They did not speak. They just ran together, through the yard, into the corn, pushing through the stalks until they reached the clearing where Lily waited. She was standing now, her bent wings still held carefully against her body, her eyes brighter than Danny had ever seen them. She was looking at the ship with an expression that was half joy and half fear. "They came," she whispered. "My family came." A door opened in the side of the ship. Light poured out, bright and warm. And then they emerged. There were 5 of them. They were Vathari, like Lily, but they were bigger. Much bigger. They were taller than Ben, with scales that were darker, deeper colors. Their wings were fully grown and folded majestically behind their backs. Their eyes glowed with intelligence and something else. Something that looked like suspicion. The one in front was female. Danny could tell because she looked like an older version of Lily. Her scales were deep purple, almost black, and she wore something that looked like a robe made of light. She moved with power and grace, and when she saw Lily, her expression changed. The suspicion faded. Love and relief took its place. She rushed forward and wrapped Lily in her arms. She spoke in their language, fast and musical, her voice breaking with emotion. Lily spoke back, crying, holding her mother tight. It was the reunion Danny had hoped for, the moment he had worked so hard to make happen. But then the mother looked up. She looked at Danny and Ben. The suspicion returned to her eyes. Two of the other Vitri moved forward. They were clearly warriors. They had armor on their scales and weapons at their sides. They positioned themselves between the mother and the humans, watching Danny and Ben with hard, cold eyes. Lily pulled back from her mother. She spoke quickly in their language, gesturing at Danny and Ben. Her mother listened. Her expression changed slowly, moving from suspicion to confusion to something that might have been surprise. The mother walked toward Danny and Ben. The warriors tried to stop her, but she waved them away. She stood before the two humans and looked at them for a long moment. "I am Valeth," she said. Her English was awkward, clearly not a language she knew well. "I am mother of Lily. I am leader of our survey group." Ben nodded respectfully. "I'm Ben Marsh. This is my son, Danny." Valeth looked at Danny. The boy was small and soft, with no scales, no claws, no natural weapons of any kind. He looked fragile. He looked weak. And yet this was the one who had found her daughter, who had cared for her, who had fixed the beacon that saved her life. "Lily tells me you helped her," Valeth said. "She tells me you gave her food, gave her warmth, fixed her beacon." "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. His voice was small but steady. He was scared, but he was not going to show it. Valeth reached out and took the beacon from Lily's hands. She looked at it closely. Danny saw her eyes move over the repairs. The copper wire wrapped around alien conductors, the earth glue holding the crack together, the battery from an old radio taped to the side. It was ugly. It was rough. It was held together with hope and determination more than skill. But it worked. "This is primitive," Valeth said. "This is simple. This should not work." "But it does," Ben said quietly. Valeth looked at him. "Why did you do this? Why did you help her? You did not know us. You did not know what she was. You had no reason to help. You had many reasons to fear." Ben was quiet for a moment. He thought about how to answer. He thought about all the things he could say about kindness and goodness and doing what was right. But in the end, he just shrugged. "She was a kid who needed help," Ben said. "Didn't need any other reason." Valeth stared at him. Danny saw something change in her eyes. The suspicion was gone now. In its place was something new. It looked almost like respect. She turned to look at her warriors. She spoke in their language, and whatever she said made them relax. They stepped back. Their hands moved away from their weapons. Valeth turned back to Ben and Danny. "We have studied your kind from far away," she said. "We thought you were young, primitive, dangerous. We thought you were not ready to know about the greater galaxy. We thought you would fear what you did not understand. We thought you would attack what was different." She paused. She looked at Danny. "We were wrong," she said softly. Lily came forward. She stood between her mother and Danny, taking both their hands. "Danny is my friend," she said. "He is good. Humans are good." Valeth nodded slowly. "I see that now." She looked at Ben. "Your kindness will not be forgotten. I will tell my people what happened here. I will tell them about the human father and son who saved my daughter. And one day, when the time is right, we will return." She touched her hand to her chest, then extended it toward Ben. It seemed like a gesture of respect, maybe a promise. Ben copied the gesture. "Take care of your world," Vela said. "We will be watching, and we will remember." The V3 turned to leave. Lily hugged Danny one last time, holding him tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything. Will I ever see you again?" Danny asked, his voice breaking. Lily smiled. "Yes, I promise. I will come back." And then she was gone, walking with her mother into the ship. The door closed. The ship hummed. It rose into the sky, faster than anything Danny had ever seen. And in moments, it was just a light among the stars. Danny stood in the field with his father, looking up at the sky, tears running down his face. "She'll come back," he said. "She promised." Ben put his arm around his son. "I believe you," he said. 17 years passed. Danny Marsh grew up. He finished school. He went to college and studied engineering because he wanted to understand how things worked and how to fix them when they broke. He became good at it. He got a job at a company that built machines for hospitals, machines that helped sick people get better. He liked that. He liked the idea that his work helped people. He moved to a small house not far from the old farm. His father still lived there, older now, his hair gray and his hands slower, but still fixing tractors in the barn. Danny visited every Sunday for dinner. They would sit on the porch and watch the sun go down, and sometimes they would look at the stars and remember. Danny never forgot. Lily, he never forgot those weeks in the cornfield. But as the years passed, the memory became soft, like an old dream. Sometimes he wondered if it had really happened at all. Maybe he had imagined it. Maybe it had been a story he told himself when he was lonely. The human mind could do strange things, but he kept a picture on his desk at work. It was a drawing he had made when he was 8 years old, a picture of a purple creature with golden eyes. He never showed it to anyone. He never explained what it was, but he kept it because some part of him still believed. On the night of his 25th birthday, Danny was alone in his backyard. He had a beer in his hand and a tired feeling in his bones. It had been a long week at work. There had been problems with a machine, and he had spent days trying to fix it. He had finally succeeded, but the effort had worn him out. He looked up at the stars. He thought about Lily. He wondered where she was, what she was doing, if she ever thought about the little boy who had found her in the corn. And then a light appeared in the sky. It was small at first, just a point of brightness among the other stars. But it grew larger. It grew brighter. It moved, coming down, until Danny could see that it was a ship. Not the same ship from 17 years ago, but similar. Smaller. More personal. It landed in his backyard, crushing his garden, and Danny did not care. He just stood there, his beer forgotten in his hand, his heart beating so fast he thought it might burst. The door opened. Light poured out, and she stepped into the night. She was taller now, much taller, almost 7 feet. Her scales were a deep, rich purple, like the color of the sky just after sunset. Her wings were fully healed and spread wide behind her, beautiful and strong. But her eyes were the same, golden, warm, full of light. "Danny," she said, and her voice was musical, like he remembered, but deeper now. "Grown up." "Lily," he whispered. She smiled, showing teeth that were sharp but not scary. "You remember. I never forgot." She walked toward him. She moved with grace and power, like a queen, like a warrior, like something out of legend. But when she stood before him, she was just Lily, his friend, the crying child he had found in the corn all those years ago. "You got bigger," Danny said, and then he laughed at how stupid that sounded. Lily laughed too. So did you. But you still have the same kind eyes. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. So much time had passed. So much had changed. But the connection between them was still there, strong and real. I came to keep my promise, Lily said. I told you I would come back. And I came to do something else too. She turned and gestured toward the ship. More figures emerged. They three, a dozen of them, carrying containers and devices. They were not warriors this time. They wore robes like scientists, like teachers, like healers. What is this? Danny asked. This is my gift to you, Lily said. My gift to your world. She took his hand in hers. Her scales were warm and smooth, just like he remembered. You saved my life, Danny. You and your father. You asked for nothing in return. You helped me because I needed help. That is not common in the galaxy. That is rare. That is precious. She led him toward the Vithari who had come with her. They bowed their heads to Danny as he passed, a gesture of respect. My mother told our people what happened here, Lily said. She told them about the human father and son who fixed a broken beacon with wire and tape and love. At first, many did not believe her. They thought she was exaggerating. They thought humans could not be so kind without wanting something in return. She stopped and turned to face Danny. Behind her, her people were unloading containers, setting up devices, preparing something he did not understand. I spent many years studying humans after that, Lily continued. I watched your world from above. I learned your history. I saw your wars and your cruelty and your mistakes. But I also saw your kindness. I saw your courage. I saw the way you help strangers, the way you love your children, the way you try to do better even when you fail. She touched Danny's face with her clawed hand, gentle as a whisper. You are not perfect, but you try. That matters. What are you giving us? Danny asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Lily smiled. Knowledge, medicine, technology, ways to heal diseases that kill millions of your people every year, ways to clean your water and air, ways to grow food without destroying your land. We cannot give you everything. You are not ready for everything, but we can give you this much. Danny felt tears in his eyes. He thought about all the sick people he had seen at the hospital where his machines worked. He thought about the news stories about famine and pollution and suffering. And here was Lily, offering to help. Not because she wanted something, just because a little boy had once sat in the dirt and told a crying dragon child that broken things deserved care. Why? Danny asked. Why are you doing this? Lily took both his hands in hers. Because you showed us what humans are. Not what we thought you were. What you really are. You are stubborn and foolish and young. But you are also kind. Impossibly, beautifully kind. Even when there is no reason to be. Even when there is nothing to gain. She looked up at the stars. The galaxy will learn about your people now. They will learn the story of the human boy who helped a lost Vathari child. They will learn that when humans find someone crying, someone broken, someone in need, they do not walk away. They sit down in the dirt, and they help. She looked back at Danny. That is what you taught me, Danny Marsh. That is what I will teach the galaxy. Danny did not know what to say. There were no words big enough for what he felt. So he just hugged her. He wrapped his arms around his old friend, and she wrapped her wings around him, and they stood together under the stars. Later that night, Danny called his father. Ben was old and slow now, but he drove over as fast as he could. He stood in Danny's yard, surrounded by Vathari scientists setting up equipment, and he looked at Lily with wonder in his eyes. You came back, he said. I keep my promises, Lily said. And I keep my debts. You gave me back my life. Now I give your world a future. Ben looked at Danny, His eyes were wet. "You were right," he said quietly. "Broken things deserve care. I always knew that, but I never knew how much it could matter." Danny smiled at his father. He took his hand. "You taught me," he said. "You taught me everything." And standing there, in a backyard full of aliens and technology and hope, two humans looked up at the stars. The galaxy was bigger than they had known. It was stranger than they had imagined. But it was not as cold as they had feared, because kindness, it turned out, was the one language that everyone understood.